see how angle B is bigger than angle R? Okay. Angle B is bigger. So this one right here is bigger. So then that automatically makes this side here the bigger one, and this side here is smaller. Okay. So what you would write is that the length of XW is greater than the length of TS or ST. XW would be bigger than TS because angle B is 88 and angle R is only 35. So it's these same two sides, they're just opened up more. And so if they're opened up more, the distance between them will be more. All right, and then the converse of the hinge theorem says, if two sides of one triangle are congruent to two sides of another triangle and the third side of the first is longer, let's fill these in, than the third side of the second, then the included angle is larger than the included angle of the second. So they're just saying, if you know the lengths of the sides and one side is bigger than the other, then you know the angle is bigger. So the hinge theorem says if the angle is bigger, then the side's bigger. The converse of the hinge says if the side's bigger, then the angle's bigger. So example, notice AB is 12 and DE is 9. So see how AB is longer? Then that means that angle C would be bigger. So you would write down that the measure of angle C is greater than the measure of angle F. Because 12 is bigger than 9. So if the side's bigger, the angle's bigger.
Some of the big idea on the big math I ever went over, like the last problem.
Oh, hang on just a second. All right, what questions do you have about the hinge theorem before we get started on an example? All right, let me show you an example. It says, using the converse of the hinge theorem. It says, given that ST is congruent to PR, how does the measure of angle PST compare to the measure of angle SPR? Okay, so these two sides are already marked congruent, and I know PS is congruent to itself. So those are the two sides. So I've got to see if they want me to compare the included angles. So they said angle PST. So to figure out which angle that is, you're looking at triangle PST, and since S is in the middle, you're looking at angle S in triangle PST. So we're looking at this angle here. And they want us to compare it to angle SPR. So now look at triangle SPR, and since P is in the middle, they're wanting us to compare this angle here. So these are the two angles they want us to compare. So in order to compare them, we've got to compare the opposite side. Well, here's this angle. There's this opposite side here, which is 24. And then with this angle, the opposite side is here, RS, which is 23. Well, notice that 24 is bigger than 23, so PT is bigger than RS. Well, since this side's bigger, then that means its opposite angle, this angle here, is bigger than the other angle. All right, so that would say that the measure of angle PST is greater than the measure of angle SPR. Okay, so that's how you compare them. When they say to compare them, they just mean to say which one's greater, less than, or even equal to. Sometimes they could be equal to. All right, let's do another one together, and then after we do the one together, then I'll see if anyone has any questions. There's a part on the front for you to write your questions down. That way you don't forget them. It says, given that the segment JK is congruent to LK, and they already have those marked congruent, how does the length of JM compare to the length of LM? So they're asking about this side and this side. Well, we don't know the measures of the sides, so angles. So my first question is, first I'm looking at triangle JKM. And the side I'm going to look at is JM. Well, you look at its opposite angle. Caden, what would be the measure of the opposite angle of side JM?
64.
64, perfect. So that one's 64. And then look at ML. What's the measure of the angle that's opposite of ML, Kyle?
61.
61. So to compare these two sides, you got to compare the two angles, 64 and 61. Ben, which one's bigger, 64 or 61? 64. So this angle here is bigger. So which side would be bigger, Ivy? JM. So JM is greater than LM.
I did that.
All right, now that we've done two examples, and we've done one where you compare the sides and one where you compare angles, what questions do you have so far about the hinge theorem? Do another one together.
Is that all we're doing is the hinge theorem?
If the length of PR is equal to the length of PS, and the measure of angle QPR, notice I did not have this on your paper. Notice the measure of angle QPR is greater than the measure of angle QPS. Which is longer, SQ or RQ? Okay, so make sure you plug in, you gotta write this greater than symbol, because I whited it out for those that way everybody would be paying attention. So make sure you fill out this greater than symbol. All right, so you got to figure out which two angles they're actually talking about. So angle QPR, look at triangle QPR, and since P's in the middle, they're talking about this angle here of triangle QPR. And they said it's greater than angle QPS. Okay, well here's QPS, P's in the middle, so this angle here. So this angle is bigger than the other one. So they want us to compare the length of SQ, which is this side, to the length of RQ. Andrew, what would you say about this? Or no, it says they're not wanting us to compare it. They're asking which one's longer, SQ or RQ. What would you say?
RQ.
RQ? Why is RQ longer?
Because since QPR is a bigger angle, QR would be longer than SQ.
Yeah, because this angle's bigger, so its opposite side, which is RQ, would also be bigger than the other opposite side.
That's all you gotta put is RQ is longer.
Yep. Alright, now what questions do you have for me? Your biggest thing, I would say, is to make sure and see what they're asking you. Sometimes they're asking you to compare them. That's when you got to do the less than, greater than, or equal to sign. And sometimes they'll ask you which is longer, which is bigger, which is shorter, which is smaller. So then you just give a name.
So if it says like if it's just larger, you just say like which one's larger. You don't gotta compare them. You just gotta say like this one's larger. Larger.
Yep. Yeah, all you would have to really do there is just say segment RQ. All right, the next one you're going to need to fill in the numbers, what's missing, and then once you do that, you'll need to turn and face your partner so y'all can work together. It says if the length of PR is equal to the length of PS and RQ is less than SQ, which is larger? Angle RPQ or angle SPQ? All right, so go ahead and face your partner. Make sure and turn your desk. Gabby, which angle did you and your partner say was larger? Angle SPQ, so that would be this angle here. How come that angle is larger?
Okay. Because the side is.
Yeah, Yeah, because right here says RQ is less than SQ, so that means this side's the smaller side. Pay attention, please. And this side here is the bigger side. So since this is the bigger side, this one would be the bigger angle. So angle SPQ would be the bigger angle. All right, what questions do you have? Let's try another one. Complete the statement with less than, greater than, or equal to. Explain your reasoning. They want you to compare the measure of angle 1 to the measure of angle 2. Hayden, what did you and your partner say?
I said congruent.
Or equal to?
Yeah, equal to.
Why?
Because both lines are congruent to each other. Because they got the little lines on the side, so they're congruent to each other.
Okay. But how does that make 1 and 2? How does that make those two?
Because the lines are the same, so they have to have the same angle.
The line in the middle.
Oh, this line here is the
Yeah,
same?
because they both have the same side.
Yeah, they're both opposite of the same side, and since they're opposite of the same side, they would have to be congruent.
Triangle is it?
Something else. Guys. Something else I saw people write down was that the two triangles are congruent by side, 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 so that would make the two angles congruent. Okay, so somewhere in that vicinity, something explaining saying they're opposite from the same side, so they're congruent. Or the two triangles are congruent by side, 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 because all the sides are congruent, so that would make the angles congruent. Something in that form. Alright, with your notes, you need to number them. For you, it's either page 41 or 42. And then you would need to put 9.2 inequalities in two triangles and fill out your table of contents. Right now, you need to do what I told you to do. And you're going to want to get out, after you put up your 9.2 notes, you need to get out your 9.1 notes.
Oh, we didn't finish that.
Alright, so fill out your table of contents. You can put your 9.2 notes up, but you need to get out your 9.1 notes. Okay, and you're probably going to need a piece of paper also.
Ben, grab me one.
Me too.
You guys need one?
Alright, the assignment was supposed to be posted on Google Classroom, but it did not post on Google Classroom. So you're going to have to go to Google, and you're going to have to type in Boom Learning. So you're going to go to Boom Learning, and you're going to sign in just like you had before. You're a student. And you have an assignment posted. It says Geometry Triangle Inequalities. Okay. On here, some of them, it does not have the triangle drawn out. It just tells you like AB equals this, BC equals this. The best piece of advice I can give you is make sure that you to help you is to draw out the triangle and label it like ABC, and then label the sides what they say they are, and then you can order the other ones. Okay, and you're going to be and this uses some information back from chapters 2 and 3. So you may, if you have forgotten any of those pieces of information, you may have to go back and look at previous sections. But this homework assignment is over section 9.1. But you have 15 minutes to work on it in class, that way in case you have any questions. And then if you don't finish it, it's homework due at the beginning of class tomorrow.
Wants to show our work.
Well, I kinda just told you that,
Oh,
what the paper was for.
I'm not good with.
Also, if you are not going to be here tomorrow, if you are working prom, you need to write that on your bell ringer and you can go ahead and turn your bell ringer in. And tomorrow I will be posting an assignment on Big Ideas Math 9.2 practice. You will need to do that sometime before Monday and have it completed Monday if you're working prom tomorrow.